high school football playoffs are here. 26 area teams will suit it up this weekend as the regional quarterfinals begin around the state of Ohio. There were over 700 teams that began the season here in August, and now we're down to just a handful, or more than a handful, around this area. Welcome into another episode of the WCPO High School Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dyer. Pleased to be joined by three head football coaches from playoff-bound teams this week. We're going to be talking to New Miami coach Jessie Hubbard, Mason coach Brian Castner, and Ross coach Kenyon Commins here momentarily. As always, you can get this WCPO High School Insider Podcast on Google Play, Stitcher, and Apple Podcast. And I want to remind everybody this High School Insider Podcast is presented by our local Chick-fil-A restaurants. Catering is Chick-fil-A's winning play of the game, perfect for your holiday parties, and order today in the app. I want to give a shout-out to Pam Gilchrist and everybody there at Chick-fil-A for bringing in a delicious lunch for our staff. Earlier this afternoon, a celebration of 10 weeks of the regular season for this High School Insider Podcast, and we've enjoyed talking high school football throughout, and really have tried to talk to coaches and teams from throughout the not only the city but also the region. So I want to thank the coaches and all the schools who have participated throughout this season. But here we are, week 11. Let's get right to it. Want to bring in New Miami coach Jessie Hubbard, along with junior wide receiver Deonza Duncan. Guys, thanks for joining me. And how's everybody at New Miami doing this week?
Really good. Excited, that's for sure. And
obviously, such a momentous season for the Vikings this year, making their third playoff appearance in program history, back-to-back postseason appearances, also making the playoffs in 2008, looking for the first program playoff win. And New Miami plays host to New Bremen Saturday night in Division 7, Region 28 quarterfinal. And Coach, just kind of give me the vibe of how everybody is feeling this week, not only in the village but around the school community, also alumni, and just your whole program in general.
Start off with the kids. The kids are excited. We had a really good practice last night. The tickets are going fast, so the community is definitely involved. And you can just, on Facebook and stuff, you have a lot of alumni who have been kind of non-existent for the last couple of years who are now making their way back in, and they're supporting these kids 100%. So it's really cool on how everybody is actually coming together in a community. And it's a result of the way these guys play. You know, I mean, they're fun to watch. They're exciting. And it's back to the New Miami style football that the alumni were used to seeing, you know, back in the 80s, and, you know, smash mouth and getting after it. So,
Deonza, I'd ask the same question to you. I mean, what's it been like around the school this week?
Everybody's talking about it. You hear everybody in the hallways. You going to the game Saturday, like, everybody just wanting to know if their friends are going or not. So everybody's wanting to get a ticket. So,
Coach, how do you think there's been so many momentous games for you guys? I mean, so many celebrations throughout, you know, the program milestones as you keep winning this year, and you're undefeated, obviously 10-0, 9-0 for OHSA purposes. But how have you kind of kept the guys focused and kept everything in perspective as you've gone along this journey?
Well, it's every week is a mind game, you know, and it goes back to we were talking about being prior military. You know, every week at the beginning of the week, we'll break the kids down. And then as the week goes on, we build them back up. So, you know, usually on Mondays, regardless of what they've read in the papers or on media sites, we usually bring them back down to earth and build them back up again. So, you know, but like I said, the kids aren't used to seeing a lot of notoriety, and then it's come full force this year. So we've, you know, me and my staff have had our hands full, you know, keeping them grounded, I guess you could say.
I want to mention some of your standouts, Coach. Obviously, junior quarterback Trey Robinette thrown over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns this year, 288 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. Deonza Duncan, obviously, sitting right next to you, 31 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. Maybe talk about just your offense right now and what's clicking so well for you guys.
Well, we knew after our playoff game last year against Fort Laramie, we were so one-dimensional, you know, and they stacked the box on us, and I knew in the offseason we had to do something. We have to be able to spread them, not so much spread them out, but use different formations, get the ball out quick, you know. And luckily, this basketball player next to me, you know, actually put all of his time into playing football this year, and he's led the entire league in catches and receptions and touchdowns. And, you know, when you have to pull, you know, a corner and a safety out of the box to cover him, our run game goes then. So, you know, I'm just thankful that he decided to make a good choice and and play football for us. So
tell me about that process. I'm sorry, Coach. Tell me about that. Just convincing him to get on the football field. What that was like.
Last year, he actually did come out, but it was mid-season, and all he kept saying was, "Don't get me hurt. Don't get me. I got to play basketball. Don't get me hurt." Then this off season, he kind of dedicated himself and was like, "All right, you can get me hurt, but I don't want to run the ball, but I'll catch it." So we throw it to him, let him run really fast, and that way he don't get tackled. And it's worked out good for us.
Coach, talk about some of your other standouts, maybe on the offense and also defensively. Who's really kind of led this team on the field? Go ahead.
My offensive line is the last 4 weeks. Our offensive line has really matured, and when they go, we go. And teams still tend to stack the box on us at time to time. But to give you an example, we're running our quarterback sneak on short yardage. We're averaging on 6.5 yards a carry. So our offensive line's gotten a lot better, and the kids are growing up, of course. And, secondly, when you have a quarterback like Trey Robinette, he's a 3-year starter. He started since he's been a freshman. He's another coach on the field. He gets the guys in position, and we let him audible. And that you don't let a whole lot of high school quarterbacks do that. So he'll come to the line of scrimmage, and if he knows we're supposed to run a certain play to the 3 tech, he'll actually audible, and we'll run the opposite play. So it's a luxury having a kid like that. And then, our backs run hard. Dylan Spivey's our fullback. This entire year, he very rarely goes down with the first tackle. He's dragging someone, running through someone. So when you kind of have that mixture, it's a good thing for us, especially having him, because when it's, 3rd and 8, last year we were probably punting. This year it's usually, 40-yard gain. So it makes it really nice.
What are going to be the keys on Saturday night against New Bremen for you, Coach?
New Bremen's got a heck of a quarterback. This kid is probably one of the best quarterbacks we've seen all year. He's the real deal. He's elusive, he's fast, and he's a hard-nosed kid too. So if we can somehow corral him, we could probably stay in the game and give them a good game. But they play in a tough conference. They play in the MAC, and they played a tough schedule. So we're in for it. It's gonna be 4 quarters of football. I'll guarantee you that.
Deonza, I guess I'll conclude with you. Just talk about just what the season's been like for you, not only around the school but the community. I was out there, I think, around week 4 talking to Coach and a couple of your teammates, and just so much pride in this program. And what's that camaraderie been like with your teammates?
Like last year, we'd have a lot of people argue, like, not everybody just wants to win. That's all it is. Like, we practice hard every single day. Like, we actually want to come to practice and want to practice and get better at football. And then Friday night that shows, like, we just want to win, like, at all costs. Like, we don't get our heads down anymore like we did.
Well, Coach, I'll let you have the final word there. What's been
what he says is exactly right. We've been down twice this year early in games, and these kids they got a whole new outlook on how to be mentally tough up here. Last week we fell down 14-7, and it didn't even faze them. You wouldn't even know we were down 14-7. They just know that we're going to line up and we're going to run the ball and throw it to him, and then our defense is just going to get after it. So as a football team, we've really come together, and it's really neat to see how that's all come about. And I'm not taking anything from last year's team. Last year's team was awesome. They were great, but when they went down 14-7, you had to pick them up because they were so used to not winning. Where this year, this group, they're just hungry. They want to win, and they could be down by 21 points. I don't think anybody would quit on this team. So, my hat's off to these kids. They play hard. That's
great. Junior wide receiver Deonza Duncan and head football coach Jessie Hubbard at New Miami. Guys, thanks for joining me, and best of luck to the Vikings this weekend.
Yeah. And good luck to the rest of you coaches. Good luck.
Thanks, guys. Want to remind everybody this WCPO High School Insider Podcast is presented by our local Chick-fil-A restaurants, where the winning play is always chicken. Go for the extra point with a side of their macaroni and cheese today. And I want to thank everybody at New Miami for setting that up. We had tried a couple times before, but glad we finally got that to work. I want to bring in Mason coach Brian Castner and senior linebacker Jack Haglage. Guys, thanks for joining me. And how are you doing this week?
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you great, Coach. Thanks for doing this.
We're doing well.
Jack, how's your week going?
It's going real well.
Great. Obviously, a 5th consecutive postseason appearance for the Comets. Number 8, Mason, which is 5-5, will play at number 1 seed St. Xavier, which is 8-2, on Friday night in Division I Region 4 quarterfinal. And the Comets with a big 35-19 win over Princeton in Week 10 in the regular season finale. Senior quarterback Colin Brown was 16 of 26 passing for 170 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had a lot of other standouts as well. Alec Dardis, 2 receiving touchdowns. Nick Nolaneri, 2 receiving touchdowns. And junior running back Nolan McCormick with 114 yards rushing. And Coach, just tell me about what it's been like to be practicing Week 11 again for the 5th consecutive year.
It's a great feeling. Anytime you're one of 72 in the state of Ohio, you know you've done something right. Jack had a fumble recovery and an interception last Friday as well, and probably played his best game he's played all year. I didn't want you to miss that stat.
Definitely.
I don't want to cheat Jack, our defensive captain, but no, he's done a great job, and overall, the players have just really started to fully believe in what we have. We had believe across our chest at the beginning of the year, and it's easy to put stuff on T-shirts and paper, but I didn't know if we all believed. And right now we all believe, but we're as close as we've been.
Jack, tell me about that. I mean, the team starts 0-3. I mean, there had been a lot of doubters. I was talking to Coach this weekend on the phone, and he said, people were questioning us, but never doubted the resolve of the players. Tell me about what that was like for you and your teammates to persevere through that 0-3 start.
Yeah, the way the season definitely wasn't how we imagined, but the way we looked at it was kind of having a 1-0 every single week mentality, and just coming to work every single Monday after, that Friday, and just trying to get better each week. And I think the growth, you can definitely see, how close we've come and how far we've come from that start of the season.
Was there a conversation or maybe a players meeting or maybe a meeting within the locker room that really made things turn around for you guys?
Yeah. One idea that we kind of had with the coaches and then the other 2 captains was, every single Tuesday, we would call out 4 or 5 other players from each grade level that are, so the top 3 or 4 players from the sophomore grade, and then 2 or 3 from the junior, and try and pulling them in, trying to get everyone else around them and around us, trying to get it all, put together. I think that really has helped with the success that we've had here recently.
Coach, you've been at this long enough. I mean, that in your mindset of the program is, the long green line. It goes beyond wins and losses, about building character for these young men going forward in the future. You did mention to me this weekend, I mean, this was the most difficult journey to get to this playoff berth of the past 5. What have you learned about your team and their character and their resolve throughout this entire season, making this late surge to make it to the playoffs?
Well, I think everybody has every week. We really did believe, that we had a good team early in the year. You start off 0-3, and a lot of people, start doubting, and then you try to use that with our team and throw some gas on the fire a little bit and see what these kids are made of. And it wasn't until about the Colerain week when we played Colerain and we're up 7 with about 4 or 5 minutes left in the game over there, and we're like, you know what? We're one of the best right now. Why can't we do this all the time? And we didn't get away with the W, but we got away with a lot of confidence, and we wanted to build off of that. I felt like we didn't miss any hours because that Saturday we started building, and we knew what we had to do to continue play. So we put in a playoff mode, and we won. We won the last 2 to get us to where we were, and really we're looking at this week as playoff 3. Week 3. I told the team on Monday, you're getting ready to go through your 100th practice. 100 practice. Told them that in the strength room after Monday. I said, you're getting ready to go into that. I go, think about what you just went through. And the one thing I think they've showed us is their perseverance. They have persevered through a lot of adversity. We've been hit with the injury bug. We've been hit with a lot of different things, sicknesses, losses. And so, they're very resilient right now. And I can't say enough good things about where we're at, the opportunity we have just to go out and practice today. We had potentially our best practice we've ever had yesterday. We finished with kids laughing, having a blast. We had a scout team versus scout team yesterday, 5 plays from the 20-yard line, and they were just having a blast. Every single person. We ate lunch today. I had a coach look at me and goes, Coach, I just think I had the most fun I ever had at a practice. So right now, a lot of things are going well. And, we know what we're up against on Friday. We played them in playoff time. We played them, in the season this year. We scrimmaged them. They're a really, really good team. They're 1, we're 8. We're not supposed to win, right? Well, we'll still show up at North Bend on Friday night, and we're going to give it everything we have. We love our players. We care for them first, and that develops that love. And so we'll see what happens. And I hope Jack continues to play the way he's playing, and the other captains as well.
Coach, what is the guy to your right, Jack, what has he meant to this program? You mentioned he's a captain, committed to play at the United States Naval Academy, said he had his best game that you can remember Friday night in a huge win over Princeton.
It was his best game. It was his best game. I'm not going to, you can cut corners or whatever. It was his best game. He means everything. I mean, he embodies the M. He's very strong with his faith. He's very strong with his family. He has a phenomenal family. He's good in the classroom, and he absolutely loves football. And that has never changed. And he's been committed to this program since he came in here. And, if I get another Jack Hagledge, the same way I would always tell you if I get another Matt Sora, if I get another Jack Hagledge, man, I've been blessed. I've been blessed as a young man. I can't say it enough. It means everything. And his 2 buddies, captains, Barrick Falk Jr., he's playing for his dad, who's a defense coordinator, living a dream, loving life, coming off an ACL his junior year. It got taken away from him. And then Michael McCalmont, he's a young man that's, a 4.2 GPA, 33 ACT, doing everything the right way, student leader, and he's also doing great things. So, Jack's not alone. He's got some guys that are on his right shoulder and left shoulder and doing things that we all want.
Jack, what has Mason football meant to you?
Most steady 4 years at Mason. Kind of Mason football has been something that I can lean on, and always hide in. I think Mason football means so much more here than it does anywhere else. Maybe we're not the Penn State championship program, but it's the culture here in the Mason football program it's really something else. And I can almost say it means everything to me.
Coach, what do you think the keys will be on Friday night? This is obviously a 1-8 matchup. You said it. Go ahead.
I think the keys, well, clearly the boring ones for you are no turnovers and no penalties. Those are the boring ones. But even bigger than that, the big picture, the community, the long green line. My phone blows up every Thursday and Friday of all the young men and now men that have families that text me. It's 58 years of Mason football. And in the last 10 years, we've created this culture that really has grown. And that's what it really means to the big picture. To the little picture is, we got to fly around. We got to tackle well. We've got to, find somehow, some way to stop Mr. Penn State and Mr. Northwestern and all their Division I players. Steve done a phenomenal job over there. I worked for him. I spent 5 years over there under Rasso and him. I know what they want to do. They have a winning culture. They love to win games. And we're going to give them everything that we have. And I hope that these young men here at Mason are proud of what we put on the field. And for the community, I hope they all show up and enjoy a Friday night.
Mason senior linebacker Jack Hagledge, Mason head coach Brian Castner. Guys, I really appreciate your time and perspective. Best of luck to the Comets on Friday night.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate everything you do, brother.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yep.
Again, I want to thank Mason coach Brian Castner for joining us. And I want to bring in Ross coach Kenyon Commins. And he's joined by junior quarterback C.J. Bowes and senior outside linebacker Jack Dupree. Guys, thanks for your patience here. I know we had to get those 2 interviews before you, but thanks for staying with me and appreciate your time and perspective. Coach, how's your week going so far?
So far, so good. It's nice to to be practicing in week 11, like the other coaches said. So, we're embracing the challenge and the opportunity that we've been presented, and excited to keep going and get back out there today.
Well, 8-2 Ross plays 7-3 Baden at Hamilton High School on Friday night in Division III Regional Quarterfinal. This is the first postseason appearance for Ross since 2011. This will be a rematch of the season opener that Ross won over Baden in overtime. Coach, does that seem like a lifetime ago to you in terms of trying to compare Week 11 to Week 1?
Absolutely, it does. I think Coach Castner nailed it. These kids were going in their 100th practice there on Monday. And Baden has changed so much from Week 1 to Week 11. We've changed from Week 1 to Week 11. It's kind of the mantra that we preach here about, winning the day and taking each week as it comes. So, if you think about that, and we always say we want to be better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we are today. Obviously, you go back and look at Week 1, man, that was a long time ago. I think both teams have grown an awful lot since then. It definitely feels like a long, long time ago.
Well, obviously, both of those guys that are joining you have made a tremendous impact for the Rams this season. The guy to your right, C.J. Bose, a junior quarterback, you've rushed for over 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns there in that triple option offense. And, C.J., what's made this team so special this season?
This year, everyone contributing. It's just, we have our O-line. It's, means, almost the most for our offense. We got playmakers on our defense, like Jack here. And we've had some corners go down. And we've definitely had guys step up and be able to, do their job and help out.
Obviously getting the job done on both sides of the ball. Jack, you've had 5.5 sacks this season. Coach mentioned you're the heart and soul of the defense this year. What's been the key for the defensive side of the ball?
I think just knowing your responsibility and trusting in your brother that he's going to do his, so you don't need to make up for him. Just trust in your brothers and do what you need to do.
Jack, this is year 3 of Coach being there. Tell me, what's been kind of the mindset going into this season? Was it a matter of, hey, we're going to make it to the playoffs? Did you expect this in year 3 of Coach being there? Or did you think it was going to take a longer process? Tell me about that kind of journey to the postseason again.
To be honest, I didn't really know what to expect, but after that first game, I think everyone realized this season's going to be special, and we might not always be the most talented, but like Coach always says, we're going to outwork every team we play.
Coach, you mentioned to me over the weekend just about that work ethic, and you're all about that as the head coach of this program, and that's your mentality, that's your background. How have your players really embodied that spirit?
Well, I think it's easy for them to embody it when the community that they live on is literally built on work. I think anybody who's come through Ross, been to Ross, we're as blue-collared as you're going to get. And in my belief, I think what makes high school football so special is that, a community comes together for one night a week and looks out there, and they should see something that represents where they live and what they believe in. And that being preached to these kids and these players just kind of resonates with them, because I think it's reinforced when they go home. We kind of have a saying here, we don't care how rough the water is, just bring the ship in. We're not interested in excuses. We're not interested in anything else. You can control how hard you work. So the guy across from you, and it's probably going to happen Friday night. There's some guys across from us that are going to be more talented. Oh, well, you better figure out a way to get it done. And it better not come back to the fact that you've been outworked, because to be outworked is unacceptable. It's just, to me, it doesn't register with me or my staff. I think it just kind of resonates because of the type of people we have in our community. And honestly, this high school and our middle school and our 2 elementary schools, these kids are pushed academically and athletically, and it's just reinforced when they go home.
CJ, tell me about that expectation that Coach and the other assistant coaches have set for you guys. I mean, a lot of times you hear players that say, "Hey, I want to be pushed. I want to be, exceed the expectations. I want to play up to the competition. I don't want to, just play down to other teams or maybe less talented teams or teams that don't work as hard." But tell me about that, how coaches really kind of emphasize that to you guys and how that's really paid off for you, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
On the offensive side, we're always being told not to, we don't want to get punched in the mouth, so we're going to go at them first. So we're going to give it everything we have, and just we're not going to let them push us down.
Coach, you mentioned the community and just the blue-collared approach to everything. But still, I mean, this has got to be incredibly exciting this week to be back in the playoffs, the first time in 8 years. What's it been like around the school? What do you hear around the community? I know your focus is purely on Baden, but what are you hearing just from people around the Ross community?
Right. I'd be lying to you if you say you don't get caught up in it a little bit in the excitement of it. And I live out here in Ross, so. And my daughters are at the middle school, and my son's here at the high school. So you get the excitement and the vibe from, the younger kids. And then here at the high school, there's been just nothing but steady stream of people coming in to buy tickets all week, whether it be at lunch or, there's always 2 or 3 people in the office or down in the cafeteria buying tickets. They're going awfully quick. If it's not sold out by tomorrow, I'd be shocked. You've got 2 great, Mike, you've been doing this long enough. Baden's a very good football community, athletic community in general. This is just 2 small schools going at it on a chilly Friday night. So it's got that nostalgia feeling to it. It's public versus private. The kids kind of all grown up together. It's kind of a smaller version of the Coleraine X type thing. It's just a much smaller, obviously, type thing there. So it's just been great. It's great for our community. It's great for both schools. It's so neat to see, our young student athletes have the opportunity to be on something like this or to be able to, just get out there and speak about Ross football and the type of kids we have here.
Coach, before I let you go, I want you to just kind of mention some other guys that have really stood out for you, if you don't mind, maybe on both sides of the ball, who've really made an impact for you here late in the season.
Yeah, for us offensively, obviously CJ's rushed for 1,200 some odd yards and 11 TDs, and then lined up right behind him would be junior Jackson Gifford, our fullback, who's rushed for just over 1,100 yards, 16 TDs, 8.1 yards per carry. So that's pretty impressive. And then, left to right up front, Caden Rogers, our offensive left tackle. Caden holds 3 offers right now. He's a first-team all-SWAT guy. So Caden and just the whole line in general, I'd kind of be remiss if I don't mention them. Our left guard is another junior, Griffin Peacock. Our center is a sophomore, Landon Herman. Right tackle is another junior. Right guard is another junior, Will Mischke. And our right tackle is the only senior we have up front, and Keith Collier and our tight end, Tanner Mealy, is a junior as well. So those guys have done a phenomenal job paving the way for CJ Jackson. And then the senior Mekhi Bolden has really exploded here the last probably 3 to 4 games. I mean, geez, Pete's, I haven't looked, but I bet he's got to be averaging, 15-plus yards per carry. I mean, he's just breaking off big runs left and right. And then on the other side, his counterpart, Ethan Hall, who's just, you want to talk about a guy who represents our workmanlike mentality. He doesn't come off the field. He plays corner for us, starts at wing, and just does a great job. So I'm sorry to keep rambling. Going to defense then. Defense, we've I kind of laugh when Coach Castner said been hit with the injury bug. I wish we would have been hit with it. I think we've been blasted with it in the face pretty much the entire year. So we've had a lot of guys step up, Ethan Hall being one of those at corner. Ethan Mills in the middle has really done a great job of holding down what it is we need to do and making some calls and those type of things. But overall, we've had some guys who've really risen up here recently and started to play a lot. A kid like Aaron Smith who plays wide receiver or wide guard for us in offense. He's kind of played corner for us. Another senior, Ethan Gerhardt's really jumped in there towards the end. And Hunter Bauman, there's just been a good contribution on that back end because we've had to kind of piece together some things. But the biggest guy on the back end would be our junior all-conference safety, Casey Redemeyer, who leads the conference with 5 picks right now. He's just done an outstanding job the entire year.
Before I let you go, Coach, how much fun has this been for you guys? This is, being back in the playoffs. Anybody wants to be in Week 11, obviously, but it's got to be incredibly exciting, as I mentioned before, not only for the community, but just for your program. Just such a tremendous amount of pride for this Ross High School football team.
Yeah, it's been special. And this senior group, when I came in 3 years ago, it's been tough. They've gone through some adversity of losing a brother year one when I was here. And to watch the maturation of this group physically and mentally, because I'll be honest, and I've told them they're not the most talented class athletically in this school, but I think they have set a standard of work that is going to be really, really hard to meet. So it's been exciting. It's going to be difficult when it comes to an end. But the excitement that they brought back to this community through their play and workmanlike mentality, our stands are packed every Friday night, and it's because these young men do reflect this community, and that's a pretty big deal out here.
Junior quarterback C.J. Bowes, senior outside linebacker Jack Dupree, head coach Kenyon Commins. Guys, really appreciate your time, and best of luck to the Rams on Friday night.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. And again, I want to thank Ross coach Kenyon Commins for his time and perspective and bringing his 2 players on board for this WCPO High School Insider podcast. I want to thank all 3 coaches, Brian Castner there at Mason, and also new Miami coach Jessie Hubbard. Great perspective, a fun time of year, Week 11. Tell you what, it's all about getting to the playoffs. Everybody knows that. I think if you have followed high school football for long enough here in the state of Ohio and you follow how the playoffs and how everybody is just trying to get to that postseason. It's great to have a conference championship, and certainly everything that you do in the regular season, nothing can take from that. But certainly making it to the playoffs, and in the way that the Ohio High School Football Playoff is set up, having to get the computer points and being able to qualify on that road and that journey to hopefully what would be the state finals in Canton. That's nothing tops that. That really is one of those things that every program aspires to get to every fall. So want to thank those coaches, want to thank a lot of the coaches that we've had on this season. We're going to continue to do this and talk high school football going forward, and we'll have plenty for you next week. I'm going to be out at the Pit on Friday night for the Lakota West at Elder matchup, 4-5 matchup there in Division I, Region 4. We're going to have all the coverage for you on the Friday Night Frenzy this Friday night, highlights with John Popovich and Keenan Singleton, and I'll be sure to have any recaps or news for you on late Friday night, and also big Saturday as well. Not only having new Miami play in Division 7 there, Cincinnati College Prep, first-time playoff qualifier. If you didn't check out my story from Sunday on WCPO.com, you want to definitely take a moment to see what head coach Jeremy Flug says about his team. We had him on the podcast earlier this season. Very inspirational story of what he's doing there right down the street from Taft High School there in downtown area here in Cincinnati, but also Taft. Head coach Jeff Gargile, Division 5, Region 20, trying to get the first playoff victory in football for a Cincinnati Public Schools team in close to 30 years. I believe the last time was Cape. Sometime in the 1990s or late 80s. We're not quite sure what year that was, but got to give Coach Cargile a lot of credit for what he's doing there. And the Senators have been bracing for Week 11 for quite a long time. I did a story about their junior wide receiver Daquan Smith and out at school a couple weeks ago, and they said they were still talking about Week 11 when it was Week 8 or so. So they host Blanchester at Stargell Stadium there on Saturday night. So definitely Coach looking for that win, not only for his program but all of Cincinnati Public Schools. He says, would represent so much to CPS and to Taft to be able to get that first playoff win. So we will have all the playoff pairings for you too on Sunday on WCPO.com. Be sure to check us out there. Again, remember the second round, the regional semifinal round, goes to neutral sites, and a little twist to the ticket procedure this year. The OHSA is going to a online ticketing system for the second round for pre-sale tickets. So if you're a fan that's certainly looking to buy a pre-sale or advanced ticket for one of these playoff games, again, beginning in the second round, you're going to have to do that online. You still be able to purchase a ticket at the gate, but the OHSA is implementing this new procedure this year, so it might take a little adjustment period there for fans to get used to that aspect. But all roads lead to Canton that first weekend, December 5th through 7th, there in Canton, Ohio, as the 7 state finals will be played for the third consecutive year there in Stark County. So hopefully it'll be a long journey. We have plenty of teams to go, and hoping to have a couple representatives there like we did last year. We had Colerain as the Division I state runner-up and Wyoming as the Division IV state champion. That's all we have for you this week. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and hope everyone enjoys the playoffs this weekend.